There's a tiny sensor inside your phone right now, quietly doing a job that, for 1,000 years, belonged to a needle. A needle that pointed travelers home, through storms, through deserts, across endless oceans, with nothing else to steer by. Nobody ever plugged it in. Nobody ever wound it up. It never asked for a signal. It just knew. So what was that needle feeling that your eyes can't see? A compass is absurdly simple. A tiny magnet balanced on a pin inside a little case. That's the whole machine. You can make one right now with a sewing needle, a wine cork, and a bowl of water. Rub the needle on a magnet, float the cork, and that needle will stubbornly, faithfully point the same direction for the rest of its life. But point at what, exactly? Not north. Well, not exactly north. It's pointing at something buried deep beneath your feet, something invisible, something that moves. That needle isn't aiming at a spot on a map, it's listening to the planet. And the planet? Imagine a giant magnet, a slightly lopsided, restless, occasionally flipping upside down, and that compass in your pocket is the cheapest ticket on Earth to feeling it move. Deep, deep under your chair, thousands of kilometers down, sits a ball of solid iron about the size of Pluto, and it's floating inside an ocean of liquid iron that never stops moving, churning, swirling, flowing in slow, enormous currents. Here's the key. When that much molten metal moves, it makes a magnetic field. That's it. That's the whole secret. That invisible field pours out of the Earth's core, arcs through the sky, wraps around the entire planet, and dives back underground on the other side. Like an enormous force field made of nothing. It's been running for billions of years, and your compass needle is just a sliver of metal sensitive enough to feel it. But there's a catch, and it's a weird one. The north end of your needle gets pulled toward the planet's magnetic south, which happens to sit up near the geographic North Pole. So the thing we call magnetic north is actually, technically, south. I know, they named everything before they understood it. That's the whole story with compasses, really. Now here's where it gets genuinely strange. If you follow a compass north, it will not take you to the North Pole. It'll take you to a wandering spot in the Arctic, and that spot will not sit still. For 400 years it drifted lazily around northern Canada. Then, about 30 years ago, it took off, sprinting toward Siberia at up to 60 kilometers a year, faster than most people walk. Today it sits closer to Russia than to Canada. And then, just a few years ago, it suddenly slammed the brakes, the biggest slowdown ever recorded, and nobody knows why. Old-school sailors knew about this wandering long before anyone could explain it. Follow your compass for weeks across the ocean, and you'd end up dozens of miles off course. Not because you steered wrong, because the needle itself was slightly off. So they learned to check their maps and adjust. Ignore that gap, and you could miss an entire continent. And sometimes, the whole system just quits. Every few 100,000 years, Earth's magnetic field does something that sounds like a prank. It flips. North becomes south. South becomes north. Every compass on the planet points the wrong way. It's happened again and again, nearly 200 times just in the era we can read from the rocks. The last flip was about 780,000 years ago. We know because old lava flows, once they cool into stone, trap the magnetic direction from that exact moment. The evidence is frozen in rock, pointing the wrong way. If it happened tomorrow, your compass would wobble uselessly for a while. Then it would calmly point toward Antarctica and say, "That's north now." Birds would be confused, satellites would glitch, and then everything would adjust. The planet has survived this many times before us. It'll survive it again. So that little sensor in your phone, the one you've never thought about, is carrying on the oldest trick in navigation. It's feeling the heartbeat of the Earth, a river of liquid iron churning beneath your feet, a force older than any mountain, any ocean, probably older than life itself. For 1,000 years, The smartest navigators on Earth didn't need a battery or a satellite to find their way home. They balanced a thin sliver of metal on a pin and trusted it, because it was listening. Now you know.